Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And I'm Jack, and in today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey player, Brayden Low. Brayden is currently playing in Germany for EV Lindau. He is in his 5th year pro, playing in the ECHL and the East Coast Hockey League and the AIHL, along with playing junior hockey in the Western Hockey League, the BCHL, and the PIJHL, and also playing CIS. Brayden is also the founder of his podcast called Minor League Madness. So I got to give a shout out to Minor League Madness and the other fellow podcasters with Brayden. So welcome to the show, Brayden Low.
Hey, thanks, man. That's a great introduction. We might have to we might have to have you on and start rinsing the guys up for us.
Oh yeah, that would be a blast. I'd definitely be down for that. But like, how are you? Like, how have things been? Like, you're in Germany right now, so how's hockey over in Germany?
Yeah, man, it's going well. Away from the rink, things are pretty slow. You go to the rink, you do your job, you come back, and you just hang out. And luckily, I have Minor League Madness to focus on and building that platform, and it gives me something to do. But the hockey's been pretty good over here, I gotta say. Way different than North America, just the style and the play, but these guys are fast, skilled, and we're 9 games left here. We're, fighting for a playoff spot, and the games are all pretty intense. So it's definitely nice to be back in that atmosphere and guys battling and thrown right back into the grind.
Exactly. Definitely good to be playing some hockey during this tough time with everything going on around the world. So at least you get an out with just playing hockey, and just with Minor League Madness as well, and just enjoy the grind and enjoy growing the platform of Minor League Madness.
Exactly, man. That's all we can do.
Yeah. So can you give our viewers like a little background information on yourself, like when you started playing hockey, like how you got into the game, and some of the teams you've been on in the past?
Yeah. So born and raised just south of Vancouver in an area called Steveston, British Columbia. And yeah, you know what? My dad kind of just chucked me a left-handed hockey stick, I think, when I was 3 or 4, and started smacking it around. I don't think my hands are much better now than they were back then, but I just stuck with it, and credit to him. He gave me all the necessary tools and everything I needed growing up. And I fortunately, I think it was my 2nd year Bantam, just started to kind of figure out the game a little bit, and end up getting drafted by the Portland Winterhawks that year. And then was kind of just in that whole, Western Hockey League system from being 15. And I set goals, and I wanted to play there, and ended up was playing 3 years in Everett, a year in Merritt, and some time in Powell River for junior. So obviously, there's been a lot of ups and downs along the way, but I'm a firm believer if you stick with something and work hard, you're going to get the right results. So then that took me to. After junior, I went to the University of Alberta for a year. Left there after a year and turned pro, and then started the journey that I'm on now.
That's awesome. That's unreal. And just you're a grinder, it seems like. So you love the process. You love grinding it out every day. So let's get into like this season a little bit, because before we get into your past hockey, so you're playing for EV Lindau right now. So like how's the season going for you, and like what's it like living in Germany?
Um, Yeah, it's okay. Like the city's an unbelievable little town. Sorry, I shouldn't say city. It's a smaller town. I don't think you can get any more south in Germany. It's a beautiful area. Across from my balcony here, I can see the Swiss Alps and Austria. So the setting couldn't be better.
Talk about an insane view.
It is, yeah, it's great. But on top, having saying that, we can't really go out and experience it. The borders are closed. We're on a full lockdown here, so like I think 9 o'clock curfew. Only grocery stores are open, so things are as locked down as you can possibly be without being, fully shut down. So that's been an adjustment. Coming here and having that back in Vancouver, still things were, you could go out to eat and, bars close at 10 and stuff like that. So it's been different, but getting through it. And then on the ice, yeah, it's going well. I'm still just trying to find, or figure out the European game a little bit, a bigger ice. It's not as run and gun to what I'm used to in the ECHL, where everything's so tight and the players are over there a little bit bigger, stronger, faster. And but over here, it's these guys definitely know how to play, and they figure out, everybody knows where everybody's going to be, and it's a lot more controlled. It's kind of like soccer here, which is weird to say, but it's definitely different. So personally, just sticking with it. I think we got 9 games left, and then into the playoffs. So hopefully, hit the stride at the right time.
Yeah, so what was like that adjustment period like? And just you said you're still trying to get adjust to the European game. It's like what's it about in European hockey that's a lot different than North American hockey?
I think just the big ice kind of sets the pace of play. It's a lot more controlled. Like things are just not slower, but if there's no chance to forecheck, then everything's set up, and it's, take your time. A lot more controlled breakouts. I thought it was going to be more offensive. There isn't a ton of like 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s. It's more just, you enter with possession, and even when you think you have a guy beat on the outside, he's coming in. He can chop the angle down because the ice is so wide. So it's just different things like that. You just got to get used to and find a way to be successful.
Yeah, when you first got there, did you feel yourself getting gassed a lot more because of the bigger ice, or was it not noticeable?
Yeah, oh no, it was noticeable. I think it was just because I hadn't played a game in 10 months. So I could have been on a 3-on-3 rink, and you could practice and work out as much as you possibly want. But if you're not playing hockey games, then there's, game shape is completely different than anything else. And I think every hockey player can attest to that. It's so no, it took me a few games definitely to get my wind, but starting to play some pretty good minutes here. So it's definitely different than playing over in North America.
Yeah, for sure. So you have 6 points this season. You have 3 goals, 3 assists. So like what was that feeling scoring that first goal over in European ice, and like how did it happen?
Uh, yeah, it was good. It was I think it was a penalty kill actually. Just kind
Oh,
of
shorty.
broke up the play. Yeah, it was a 2-on-1, and guy gave me a really good pass. I think I just tipped it on my backhand over the shoulder. So it was pretty nice play. But yeah, no, it's it's good. The blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you can't get a better play than that. And it feels so good, especially you can get that monkey off the back, especially after not playing a game in 10 months. Must have been really hard. But at least you got that goal and you're settling into the ice right now.
That's right. Yeah, we're doing everything we can, working hard.
Yeah, so like what's been like the best part about playing in Germany so far this season and just being over there and enjoying playing European hockey?
I mean, yeah, again, there isn't much to do. So I think just the best part about being here is just being able to play. I know there's a lot of guys, got a lot of close buddies and guys I played against or with or whatever the case is that are out of jobs. And, definitely feel for those guys that might not have, a long pro resume that, kind of got shafted a bit. So, especially with the ECHL, I think it was 13 teams not operating. So, um, it's really not that bad. I'm still over here earning a living and putting games on the resume for next year too. So it's, it's all good in that regard.
Yeah, that's awesome that your resume is going to be growing and going into next year and hopefully find yourself in the coast or in the A maybe even next year. So that's good. So like what have you been doing like off the ice since you can't really do anything to pass the time by since you could only go to the grocery store and that's it?
Yeah, man. Not a whole lot. Luckily got great friends, great family, in touch with them, and a lot of people back home kind of, just helped me getting through it. And, I think that's important, whether you're here in North America, everybody's still going through this pandemic and takes its toll. So I think the more conversations you can have with people and the more laughs you can share, I think that's, all the better in the end. So, been doing a lot of that. Been working on minor league madness, you mentioned before. So just kind of, really laying it all out and the business and the structure and going, just taking a good look at what's to come. And so it gives me a lot of time to focus on that for sure, which is a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And just having that support system where you're able to talk to friends, family, whoever, is just especially as an athlete when things also don't go right all the time, like you have ups and downs, like it's good to rely on those people to help you bring yourself out of that, like when you're pissed off or something like that, and just enjoy talking to your family or your friends. And it really does help bring you down and help you enjoy stuff outside of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So do you have any cool or good stories from your time in Germany so far?
Oh, let me think. I mean, you know what? There hasn't been too much like crazy things that have happened. I've been here for a month now, but everything's like taken care of at the rink, and then you go home. So there isn't a whole lot. I mean, uh, yeah, the practicing at night thing's kind of nuts. But um, yeah, when when I got my car, I'm not used to driving like standard. So I took it out like the other day and I went down the road. I didn't realize how far Austria was. And it's like a mile and a half from the rink. So I'm like playing with the gears and like trying to figure out like the car. And so I cross this bridge and like put it in park like on like a downward slant. And I take a look around. There's like police officers. There's like it's not like the Canadian or American border crossing. Like it's there were just cones there. So I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't be here. So I tried to get out and I started stalling the car. So the four police officers come up to me and thankfully they knew English. They're like, what are you doing? I was like, look, like I'm Canadian. Like, I'm sorry. Like I'm trying, I'm just got the car. Like they're like, all right. Like, they're like, yeah, like just get off the sidewalk. Like you can't be parked there. So I was like, yeah, like I'm trying. So anyway, got up and got home, parked the car. I have not been in the car since. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And just
Mm.
the cops are probably looking at it like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Oh,
Just must have
yeah,
been wild.
that was bad. Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid. But
But
yeah,
hey, but you got a memory out of that. You got a story out of
yeah,
that. So
yeah,
that's all that
yeah.
matters. That's
That's all that
all
matters.
there
Right.
is.
That's right.
Yeah. So is for like hockey and journey right now, are you guys allowed fans or are there no
No,
fans?
no, no, no fans. Just the only people allowed in the buildings are hockey operations staff. So whatever that
How
is.
is that, and just like being like playing without any fans, and is it are you used to it by now, or is it still kind of weird?
Yeah, I think I'm used to it by now. I'm pretty just locked in on what's going on the ice. I mean, it would be, and I don't really know over any different over here because I've never been to Europe before this. So I think that, like from what I heard from the guys, it's just insane. Not necessarily in Lindau, but in these other older buildings, they'll get 4 or 5 thousand in, and it's everybody's drunk and screaming and chanting and just having an unbelievable time. So I do, on the other end of it, I'm missing that experience. But no, to answer your question, I don't really notice it. I just kind of go out and just do my job.
Those are the best kind of fans when they're drunk, happy. Like
Yeah.
it gets wild, it gets crazy. So it's it's fun experiencing those times and just like being around those drunk fans.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, so I want to bring you back to like the start of your hockey career a little bit here. So you were drafted to the Portland Winterhawks of the Western Hockey League at number 134 overall in the seventh round. So like, what was the draft process like coming out of Bantams to get drafted by a WHL team?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really know too much about it going into it. It was just kind of at the end, last few months, then you start to hear about it, and everybody knows it's your draft year. But back then, it's not like what it is now, where you got Adam parents and kids, whatever they call it in the U.S. U9 parents talking about the Bantam draft now. So there wasn't a whole lot of focus on it. But yeah, I ended up getting picked by Portland, and it was great, and learned a lot from. I was there. They had an absolute powerhouse team for the whole time that I was in the organization, and didn't end up making their lineup. Had some injuries and just BS, but probably a lot of fault of my own too. So, but you know what? Everything happens for a reason. They had their success, and all the credit to them. They had some unbelievable players go through there, and those guys are still having success now. And I bounced around a little bit, and then ended up spending 3 pretty good years in Everett.
Yeah, so then you first started on the PIJHL for the Richmond Sockeyes, where you played 39 games with getting 24 points. It's like, what was that first year of juniors like for you in the PIJHW before moving up to the WHL?
Yeah, that was a really good experience for me. I was 16, and back then it's junior B. Junior B was pretty tough back then. There were a lot of big guys, and um, it was eye opening for sure playing against 19, 20 year olds that have been in the league for a long time, and trying to kill you as a 16-year-old. So again, that aspect's changed a little bit now too, but it was good, and I ended up getting in some games with Portland that year, and playing in Richmond at the start definitely helped, and they're still doing a great job with what's going on there too.
Yeah, so like, what were some of those struggles for you going into your first year of juniors that you had to learn if you wanted to move up to the WHL and then eventually college and then eventually to get to the pro level?
You know what? My best answer is I just didn't know. I didn't know what was I I just didn't have enough knowledge of the game of training. There was just so many aspects that I just wasn't aware of. I think looking back on it now, I wish I had been aware of more things that um, the proper training or the proper diet or whatever it is. Just back then it was just a lack of information. I think. Um, we just kind of went out and played hockey and listened to the coach and tried as hard as we can. But now now it's just completely different. So, yeah, there wasn't too many struggles. It was just more, play and get through it.
Yeah, exactly. More just play and just learn as you go and just
Exactly.
find your way up from there. So then you found your way up to the Portland Winterhawks in the WHL, where you played 4 games with them. So what was it like getting called up to the WHL? Like, what did you notice from right from the start when you did get that game under your belt in the WHL?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I still remember that. They had a bunch of guys go up and play the World Juniors, Johansson and Niederreiter and all the big boys. So um, kind of made way for opened a few nights up for me to come in and get my feet wet. And yeah, I think we in Richmond, we never really played in front of more than parents, 400 or 500 people max. And then I'll never forget walking into the Rose Garden, now the Moda Center. I think it was a sellout at around New Year's Eve. There was about 11 to 12,000 people. So
Wow.
walking out during warm up. So walking out, my dad was there. I'll never forget that. Walking out to that was pretty insane. Yeah, and again, you're nervous. You get thrown right into the fire, and luckily then, like we were short up front too, so we were playing a lot. So I think that helped. That right away, you're going one every 3 shifts, and you're just thrown right into it. So that was probably the best thing, and nobody's holding your hand getting into it. So it was good. That was probably the biggest difference, just the atmosphere and the crowds. And then obviously the players back then too were unbelievable. A lot of good players came through the WHL in those 5-6 years. So yeah, you're playing against men that guys are stepping right into the NHL. So it was pretty cool for sure.
I can only imagine just going out to warm ups and the building's already buzzing and everything. The boys are buzzing like everything. And you're just like, oh shit, this is my first game. Like I gotta fucking do something to prove myself here.
Yeah.
It's like what was that first game like, and especially getting so much playing time that game.
You know what? I don't really remember it too much. There's definitely points where things like that become a blur. It was I just remember the atmosphere and, just trying to not look bad pretty much. Like I said, as the game goes on, you fit in and find your legs and all that. So, yeah, I don't remember a whole lot specifically from that time, but it was, looking back on it, definitely a good experience.
Yeah, for sure. So then you were sent to the BCHL for the Merit Centennials for parts of 2 years, where you had to work your way up the ranks. So how important was it to stay motivated for yourself to help you achieve those goals of keep moving up the ranks?
Yeah, I mean, it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to play in the Western Hockey League, and I didn't really let anything get in the way of that process. I mean, there was a lot of ups and downs and bumps along the way, but I think it comes back to having a good support system of friends and family, and keeping yourself motivated, doing the right things, and um, yeah, just kind of stuck with it and trusted the process. And then, going to Merit definitely helped. I played a lot there, and learned a lot, and came back the next season kind of ready to go.
Yeah, so you trusted the process and you became a mainstay in the WHL for the Everett Silvertips, where you played pretty much every game those last 2 years. So what was your time in Everett like, in like that development period that you're able to keep developing your game to get to the next level?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I can't say anything bad about that organization. It was first class the entire way. I think Gary Davidson, he's still there. He's doing a great job bringing in players and prospects. When I was playing, we had Kevin Constantine as our coach. So, he's pretty nuts, but I loved him as a player. And, I think he liked me back and liked, the style of game that I brought. So it was awesome. We had a great group of guys. The fans support there is unbelievable. I'd say a top 5 place in the Canadian Hockey League to be a player, and they're still pumping out good players to this day. And it's pretty cool to see. I'm super lucky to be part of what went on down there.
Yeah, so you played with a great fan support fan base in Everett. So like what was that playoff hockey atmosphere like in Everett, and just being, because playoff hockey is a different breed no matter what league, what level you're in. So like what was that level of intensity like in the playoffs?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, my 20-year-old year, we played Spokane in the first round. That was unbelievable. I think my 19-year-old year, we played Seattle in the first round. Seattle's only about 40 miles away from Everett. It's a huge rivalry. So they beat us my 19-year-old year. We chased around Matt Barzell all over the ice. So I think they made pretty quick work of us there. But no, it was good. Like it's intense. Guys everything's just magnified and cranked up a little bit, without a doubt.
Yeah, so, like those playoff games you remember for a lifetime. So like, what were some of those your favorite memories throughout like junior hockey and the WHL, and just some of the stories you've had from your time in the WHL?
Oh, I honestly just being around. I mean, the Billet families were unbelievable. I'm still in touch with Billets down there. I think I've still got a core good buddies that I played with down there that are still in touch with to this day. I think the hockey's a hockey, but it's the friendships that you forge and all the experiences you have along the way. That's what stays with you for the rest of your life. So, it definitely it's been pretty cool to kind of climb, the way up and take the path that I did. And I couldn't have been happier to go through a city like that.
Yeah, that's just awesome. Like everything you made from it, and just all the memories, stories. Like that's what the game's all about. Is just what you experience there, and just enjoy playing the game of hockey and the sport you love.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. So then after your final year of juniors, you went on to play at the University of Alberta to play college hockey and go to school there. So like, what made you decide to pick University of Alberta to be your school?
Um, they were, that's a top school in Canada for hockey. I think they won it the 2 years in a row before I got there. It was pretty much a no-brainer if you're going to go to, school in Canada. And for me, it was to go to the U of A. And they had a pretty good recruiting trip. Got to know the guys and had some fun there, and enrolled in classes, and things just became it just worked. At the end of it didn't work out, so I ended up leaving. But yeah, I mean, if it's a top notch program in the CIS for sure.
Yeah. So what was it like playing in Alberta? Because Alberta is a great city, and like just like the hockey atmosphere in Alberta is just insane. So what was it like actually playing college hockey there?
Yeah, I mean Edmonton, they definitely care. People, love the Golden Bears, and everybody's, that we got pretty good crowds. And I think it was one of the craziest memories I have from there is we every year, I guess the University of Alberta plays the Oiler rookies. So the games are always at the Claire Drake, which is where the Golden Bears play. But and it sells out, from what I heard. But it was McDavid and Dreisaitl's first year in Edmonton, like first time they'd ever put on an
Oh,
Oilers jersey. So that game got moved to Rexall, and it was sold out within minutes.
holy shit!
So we played McDavid and Drysaitel and Nurse, and in front of they just, I think it was 6-2 or 6-3. I think McDavid had a goal and 5 assists or something like that. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. Just like him buzzing up and down the ice. I'll never forget that. Had my dad out for that. It was pretty cool. So that was one of the cooler things that I've done. Just getting to see him up close, and now he's twice as good. So, pretty wild stuff.
What a group of guys to be playing against. Like, what was it like playing in Rexall Place and just being, because that's where the Oilers play. So, like, what was it like playing on like an NHL ice rink?
Yeah, it was cool. I think it was just the nostalgia of playing against Connor McDavid was definitely the thing that I took away from it the most. I mean, he was unbelievable. That's when he was 18. Now he's whatever he is, 23. So 5 years ago he was. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about the way that guy plays hockey. He's generational talent. Pretty cool to watch up close.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. It's like going into college hockey a little bit. Like, what was that transition like going from the WHL to CIS?
It was definitely better. I mean, the guys are bigger and stronger, older, right? You can be up to 26 or 27, I think, in the CIS, 26.
Wow.
So yeah, they're fully grown men that have been playing hockey a long time. So the hockey was definitely very good. Um, yeah, I don't remember a whole lot from that, but I do remember the games being pretty intense.
Yeah, for sure. So college hockey is most known for like the fan sections. Like, how much did those fan sections actually help the momentum of the game when playing at either your home rink or even away games?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the fans up in the CIS aren't anything like what the fans are down in the States, not even close. So, but yeah, it was cool to experience that. Like we had a few student sections that I guess got pretty rowdy, but it's nothing what your American listeners are thinking of. That's for sure.
Yeah. So then after your first year of college, you decided to go pro, where you found yourself signing with the Rapid City Rush of the East Coast Hockey League. So, like, what was that first taste of pro hockey like for you and the adjustment to playing in the ECHL?
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I came into the league at a time where, fighting's obviously still in the game, but I came in at a time where it was intense. There were a lot of big, strong, veteran fighters. Ended up being on a line with two of them, so I've kind of learned, Tristan Grant and Anthony Collins, two very tough guys. So I learned a lot from them in that aspect. But yeah, it was an adjustment for sure. Wasn't even comparable to the CIS at that point. The hockey was so good. We played the Colorado Eagles 16 times a year, and
Oh,
they would just walk all over us. So that was an adjustment. The crowds obviously too are insane in some of these buildings, and um, yeah, it was a pretty crazy eye opener for sure.
yeah. So, like, what was like your first like in terms of minor league man, like what the fuck moment?
Oh yeah, I actually told it the first episode of Minor League Madness, but yeah, my what the fuck moment was like we're on the bus is a transport truck. I mentioned that. So we left on Wednesday morning to Colorado. We drove 6 hours down there to play, got absolutely waxed. And then so we started the year off 0-4. Then we went across the street to the hotel Wednesday night, checked in at 10, checked out at 3 a.m., drove from Loveland down to Denver, down to the airport, flew out at 6 to Seattle at 8, flew from Seattle to Anchorage, got into Anchorage in like 3 or 4, pitch black on the Thursday, and played there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. And instead of going to a hotel like most organizations would do, we checked out of the hotel on Sunday morning and just went to the airport and stayed there for 13 hours. So, and we were now, I think it was 0-8 at that time. So we hadn't won. We're up in Alaska and just drinking our sorrows away pretty much, and trying to figure out what went wrong. So then it's a 6 a.m. Flight the next morning down to Seattle. Everybody's on the plane. We get there, we land, we have 15 minutes to make the connection. There was a miscommunication from the pilot on which gate, and the Seattle airport's huge, so you go all the way around and fuck around with your gate. We ended up like not being at the right gate, so we had to go back, and the plane was gone. So half the team made the flight, half the team didn't. So that dragged out the travel day another 12 hours.
Holy
We
fuck!
we ended up getting back to Denver at like 4 p.m. And then it was a 6-hour bus ride back to Rapid City once we landed. So that was my first actual weekend away in pro. And definitely I was asking myself, what the fuck is going on here a few times.
Yeah, like that's like 3 days, 4 days worth of travel right there. That's
Yeah.
wild.
It sucks. Yeah, it sucks. And when you're 0-8, it makes it that much worse.
Exactly. And like, is there any other like horror like travel stories that you have besides that one?
Oh God. I mean, yeah, there's hundreds. Yeah, see, every year something gets messed up. This year, I don't know what happened. I think the travel agent dropped the ball, but we flew to Newfoundland from Philadelphia, and my whole house, it was myself, Frank DeChara, and Jimmy Mazza. Our whole house was just off the list. So we didn't have a plane ticket when we showed up. So we had to wait another 8 or 9 hours in the Philly airport. And yeah, it's just, there's just stuff like that happens a lot more than you, than you think it does, for sure.
Wow, that's a shit show right there. But that part of the grind, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, it makes for good stories for sure.
Yeah,
I really don't mind it. I kind of like it.
yeah, you get some good ass stories out of it, so that's
Yeah,
a positive out of that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so throughout your years of pro, you experienced ups and downs throughout playing hockey, especially in the pros. So like, how do you overcome these obstacles that you faced during your first year?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely difficult. My first year at the University of Alberta was a shit show, and then the next year get to Rapid City, it's just as bad. And then I ended up getting a skate through the foot. When was that? In February, so I missed whatever it was, the 30 remaining games, and with an injury. And that's how those 2 years ended. And at that point, it was, I had 7 points in pro, and I had a terrible year the year before that. So it was kind of like, okay, who's going to sign me? Where am I going? That process took a while. So I knew things needed to change, and hired a new off ice trainer, and hired an unbelievable on ice trainer back in Richmond. And that's kind of what really turned the corner for me, and found a job there in Quad City. And that's a whole story in itself. But we weren't very good, but it gave me an opportunity to play and put up good numbers. And going to a team like that, and learning from some more veteran guys, it did, it got me to where I am now.
Yeah, for sure. So going into like getting your first pro goal, it's like, what was that feeling like getting your first pro goal, and do you remember how it happened?
Yeah, that was in Rapid City. That was actually, it was my first game too. Yeah, it was just a play behind the net, and I think I was like coming off the bench, like into the play, off a change. Sorry, and a guy found me in the slot and put it home. So that was, yeah, that was pretty cool. That was in Colorado. I think it was in Colorado that day.
Not a bad start to your pro career then. Getting that first goal out of the way is, some people wait years for those, so it's good that you got it out of the right way right away.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then your second year, you played for Quad City Mallards and the Wichita Thunder. It's like, what did you learn that year about the job and what you had to do if you want to stick on a team?
Yeah, I mean, in the ECHL, it's tough, and all the players can also attest to this. It's, you're here today, gone tomorrow. If you're not doing your job, it's pretty cutthroat, and everybody's replaceable. So I think that, seeing a lot of that my first year, and thankfully, and knock on wood, I haven't been one of those guys that's had to, deal with being cut or traded, at that level. At Quad City, at the end of that, I wanted out, and I wanted to go play in the playoffs with Wichita. But I think working hard and just kind of staying with it's the biggest thing. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I've seen that come up and get comfortable, and a few weeks later they're looking for jobs, and nobody's safe from it. So I think, the way you go into it, and a lot of it's mindset. And now I'm pretty experienced in doing this. I know what I got to do, know where my body's got to be at. But it's it's pretty ruthless at times, for sure.
Yeah. So going into like the mindset part a little bit, like you have to be both mentally and physically strong throughout like an entire season, especially the mindsets. Like, what would you do to help yourself have a good mindset, even throughout the tough times that you face and like constantly grinding things out every day?
Um, I don't know. I mean, personally, I just kind of like to take a step back a little bit. When you're away from the rink, I think that's when you can really get your mind right, and kind of evaluate everything that's going on around you and what you can do to make changes. And I think a big thing too is having conversations with people, that have been there and gone through it, and whatever it is, not just hockey, whatever your profession is. I think that, I think there's a lot to be said about talking to people that have gone through it and come out of it on top. So that's what I kind of like to do, but at the same time, just chill out and think about what needs to change if there's a change that needs to be made. So
Yeah, I like what you said there, and just you have to like reevaluate at times and just step back a little. Like any athlete, like any profession, like you said, like there's gonna be those tough times where you have to step back and just be like, just evaluate, like you said, and just think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and just trying to get like a better or developing a stronger mindset. Like that's the main point there.
exactly, that's all it is.
Yeah. So then after your second year in Quad City and Wichita, you then went to play in the AIHL the following year through for part of the season for CBR Brave before you went to Reading. So like, what was it like going to play hockey overseas, and like, what was that culture like?
So I went to Reading first, and then after that, I went to the AIHL.
Yeah. So like, what was it like being in Reading and just being part of the team there, and just because Reading seems like it's a great organization to play for.
Yeah, Reading's yeah. God, I mean, I could talk for hours about Reading and the people and everybody involved in that organization. But yeah, that's what my first few years of pro were a bit of a circus, and then getting to Reading kind of opened my eyes about what pro hockey is and what it should be. Starts from our coach, and yeah, he's done a great job there and with the guys and developing guys and making them better hockey players, and um, the staff and equipment, everybody is just professional. It's through and through. It's a professional organization. We get treated like gold, and the fan support's great, and we're pretty active in the community too. So there's a lot of positive that goes on there, and then within the locker room, we got an unbelievable group of guys. So going to that from what I'd been, um, I guess, used to my first 2 years, and just like I said, the circus that it was nice to come into that and be a part of a winning group. I was on three pretty bad teams prior to that, but that's kind of where things turned the corner for sure.
Yeah, and you're really successful those 2 years with 33 points and 38 points in those 2 years. Like, how much fun was it putting points up on the board, winning games, and just being successful overall, and especially with what you dealt with in the past years before?
Yeah, it was good, man. It was it's you're playing with better players, and better system, better structures, everything was better. And I think there's a lot to be said about when you're happy on the ice and things are good on the ice, you're definitely going to be happy off the ice. So things are all good there. I mean, even the bad days or the games we lose, we have enough character in that locker room that it's a small obstacle to overcome, and you come to the rink every day happy knowing that you're going to see your buddies and work hard for 2 hours, and that's your job. So we've created a very positive environment there, and I'm pretty excited to just get back to that.
Yeah, that's just great, and like especially with that environment, like you want to be there and you want to go back, and like there's no better feeling just having a team like that and just wanting to go back and play for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then you go overseas to play in the AIHL. So like, what was that like being in the AIHL, and like that culture change from North American hockey to going over there?
Yeah, so that's it was cool. I didn't really know that there was any hockey in Australia, but that's they contacted me the previous year, and I didn't really look into it. I kind of thought it was a joke, to be honest. And then they contacted me for the second year, and I took a little more serious. We were playing good hockey. We ended up missing the playoffs by a point in Reading, but so I was still all horned up for hockey, and that kind of gave me a chance. And they said, "Look," I said, "Look, like I can't come down and play a full season. Just my body wouldn't be able to handle it, but I'll come down, check it out for 5, 6, 7 weeks." And it was, yeah, it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. It was got to see that side of the world, for free and play hockey and do what you love. It was, that was a very, very special time for me. And I can't thank the people enough down there for making the experience so good.
Not a bad situation to be in, just going down to Australia and playing hockey and just exploring another part of the world and just knock that off the bucket list. So it must have been really nice to get down there and just see everything, like how everything else is played down there and like all the culture stuff as well.
Oh yeah, it was super cool. We got to experience a ton of different things, different cities, different people. It was awesome.
Yeah. So then throughout like your every year you've played in pro so far, like what have been some of like the hardest things you had to learn throughout your time throughout playing so far, where you started to where you are now in your career?
Like in terms of on the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I entered the league at ECHL there at, what was that? Jesus, 2015, maybe 2016. Yeah, 2016. Yeah, I wasn't a very good skater. I was too heavy. Just wasn't a good enough skater. And looking back on it now, I'm actually kind of surprised I got to that through the pro level with how bad my skating was. Um, and that changed. I knew if I wanted to stay in the game, which I did, and I want to keep doing this, definitely have to take it to a different angle and focus on that. So that really how the change, and I guess the points started to come over the years. I just got better at skating, better at offense, and it's a tough league to score goals. And if these are what teams in Europe look at, teams in the American League look at. It's what you're doing on the score sheet matters. I mean, there's nobody that I don't think can tell you otherwise. It does matter what you're doing. So I think to give myself the best chance to be successful, I had to start putting up points and becoming a better skater. And I think a lot of credit of that goes to our head coach Kirk McDonald in Reading. He's always been pretty honest with me and said, look, if you want to get to the next level, this is what needs to change. So every year just kind of came back and got a little better at it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you got to do. You just got to work on anything to get better and just develop even more and get to that next level where that you want to be in. So then going into this season, like it's been the longest off season I think anyone has ever had. It's like, what did you do to help yourself prepare, especially when you had no idea when you're going to find a team and play?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough. We were slotted to go there. Like the whole time, throughout the whole summer, we thought like we were going back to Reading and everything was good. And we heard different rumblings about this and that, but like summer was good, gotten very good shape, skated a lot, like you put a lot of work in. And then time comes, I think it was first week in November, we got the call saying the whole division's opted out and there's no we're not going to be playing hockey in Reading this year. So that sucked. That was it definitely was a challenge. But again, you kind of just go back to the drawing board and look at where you're at and what you want to do and how you want to approach things. So yeah, for me personally, it's just I think I took a little bit of time away from the game and just kind of gathered my thoughts and figured out what I wanted to do. And then yeah, I think it was I definitely took a few weeks off the ice. And I think right before Christmas, it's like time to get back into it and start looking for places to play.
And now you have a spot to play and you're playing really well there. So it's a little weird, but like you're finally ending up to play somewhere and you're doing well in it too. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Adjusting for sure.
Yeah, adjusting, that's for sure. So then like throughout the summer and throughout the fall and winter, you and your three other co-hosts hosted a podcast called Minor League Madness that was released in late 2020. It's like, what made you guys come up with the idea to create a podcast and like the origins behind your project?
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy I guess chain of events with that. Like when the season got canceled in March, I think it was with COVID when it first broke out. I wanted to help. I wanted to do something, and I wanted to like create something for the players. And like we, guys are out of jobs and blah blah. And I mean, all ideas sometimes start as something stupid. So I thought it'd be a good idea to just like gather a bunch of funny stories and get an audio book going, and like I don't know, fucking sell the audio book, and then that I thought about that on my drive across the country for 52 hours. So I thought that was a pretty good idea. And then when I got back to Vancouver, around people a little smarter, they just, kind of pointed me in the direction. Maybe an audiobook isn't the way to go. Why don't you just like, at first it was kind of a website, and then I literally had nothing else going on, so I was like, well, what if we just create a platform for the minor league system, and give it its own identity and brand. There's a lot of unbelievable stories that come out of the minors that people just don't hear about, and there's also a lot of good hockey players in the minors too, which I kind of wanted to shine a spotlight on. So that was kind of the I guess the basis of the platform, but nothing was really released until I think it was December 9th. And yeah, over the summer, yeah, I became just super close. Like two of my best buddies, or three of my best buddies, up there. It would be in Jordan and Adam and Ben. And I think it was end of September there. I was like, look, like, what if we, along with everything else that we have going on with minor league madness here, we got guys, telling stories and or writing stories, and getting involved with their brands. And what if we start a podcast as well? And those guys have been unbelievable, and sticking with it. And yeah, we're off and running. That's how the idea just kind of came to fruition, and here we are. I mean, yeah, we just passed 5,000 downloads the other day, and we haven't really spent a dollar on advertising or making people aware that we even exist yet. So um, it's definitely been pretty cool. And I think the biggest thing for me is just to be able to see the I guess respect, or the fact that the players like it, to me, is the biggest part. I mean, yes, it's for the fans and people to like understand what goes on, but I think the biggest aspect is the players have now of a platform, and hopefully we can make it big enough where everybody knows about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just like throughout like all the like the entire process you guys had, like how long would you say it took you from like start like we're gonna create a podcast to finish like where you actually released it? So like how long do you think it took you, and like what went into the production part of it as well?
uh God, you know what, I don't, let me think. Like going back, summer was we weren't really doing too much for the brand in the summer, other than just kind of hanging out and having a good time and working out. And then at the end of September, I think I've just brought the idea to the boys, and then we kind of kicked it around a little bit, and yeah, but it kind of just we we did the first episode, and we were absolutely terrible, and had a few beers, and just like just get the jitters out, and things just didn't sound good. So that was that was episode one that didn't get released. And then came back a few days later, regrouped, and kind of looked over what what we needed to change and do, and got it going. And you know what, we there hadn't been a lot of planning going into it. We kind of knew, like, yeah, I mean, we're just four pretty good buddies just going back and forth, and we knew that we could create a pretty good, easy environment for the players to step into and just start shooting the shit and talking about their career. And that's really all it is. I'm not trying to make it the next Joe Rogan or anything like that. Like, we just want to shine some light on guys' careers and what they've done, some stories they share along the way. And I think a lot of it needs to be celebrated. There's a lot of these guys that come on, like, veteran guys. There's just so many, and there's a lot more that we have lined up that, I think deserve a platform to talk about their careers.
Yeah, that's just awesome. And like you've had so many great guests on so far. And like it's like do you guys have like a favorite? Do you think just are you just like everyone that comes on is a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, they're all good in their own way. For us, it's we're just kind of sit back and listen, and give them the mic essentially. yeah, there's been some great stories told. I mean, Steve Oleksi's had some funny stories. They're all good. Mitchie and Henry. I could go the whole list. Like they all got, great stories. And Derek Nesbitt, a guy's a legend, been around forever. He started us off, and just that's what it's about. It's about guys like that. It's not about us pigeons talking. It's about like I said, giving them the mic, letting them talk about what they've done and where they've been, and if we can hopefully draw as many eyes to it as possible, that's great.
Yeah, and you guys passed 5,000 views, so that's unreal. That's awesome. So congrats on that milestone for you guys, and just keep grinding away.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I have a few more questions before we get this thing done with. So, do you have any tips for hockey players looking to get to the next level?
Yeah. I mean, on the ice, geez, I think skating's the biggest thing you got to worry about now. Everybody can move, it seems like, and everybody's in shape from a young age. And the kids coming up now, the skills unbelievable they have.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? Like, aside from that, I mean, yeah, the hockey's hockey, but I think just be a good teammate. That's the biggest thing. I don't really care what people think about me outside of that locker room. That's where it matters the most to your organization and to your guys you're going to war with every night. So I think the biggest thing, just be a good teammate, listen, and don't preach something if you're not doing it yourself. I think I've been pretty fortunate to learn from a lot of very good leaders in the game. And last year, Garrett Mitchell, now the captain of Rockford, he's a guy that's I'd consider him one of my best buddies, still, in touch with him all the time. And there's a guy that, has been there at every level, and kind of showed me, the way that, how leadership works. And everybody has their own idea, but until you meet a guy that's been proven and doing it over and over and over again, like he was in Rockford for maybe 20 games last year, and now he's the captain. So, going back into this year. So like it just goes to, show to his character about who he is and what he brings. And I've definitely, tried to soak in as much from guys like that as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. That just proves how good guys are and how good of a leader they are, especially when they play 20 games and they're already captain, and just learning from them and just learning, like you said, like if you're not going to preach it, then don't say it. And so if you're going to preach it, you better damn well fucking do it. So yeah,
That's right.
that's awesome. That's a great tip for the younger generation. So like, what's your favorite pump up song?
My favorite pump up song. God, I got a lot of good music going here with Minor League Madness on Spotify. You know what? I don't. We used to. My favorite pump up song. I don't know. I have a million to choose from, but our walkout song, which I liked last year, getting onto the ice for warm up, was "No Hands" by Waka Flocka Flame. That's always a
Hell yeah.
that's always a banger. Walking out to that gets you going a little bit.
Oh yeah, gets the juices flowing. That's what you need.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So my final question for you is, what's been your favorite city you've visited so far in your career?
Ooh, man, I don't know. You know what? Having played this game for a while now, I've been fortunate enough. I think I've made it to every province in Canada except Prince Edward Island, and I've been to 44 states. So that is there's a lot of good cities. I think my favorite place to go to though would be St. John's, Newfoundland. Love the vibe there. The people are unbelievable. I got some pretty close family friends out there. So I get the full experience every time I go there. You're never in a bad mood, and it's a pretty fun place to play too. So I would have to say there.
Yeah, that was a tough question for you, especially since you've been everywhere. But there has to be like one that stuck out, and that stuck out to you. So that's awesome. So Brayden, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and want to wish you the best of luck going forward with everything in the season, and continue to make awesome content for the Minor League Madness.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, thank you.